I'm Baldwin Berges. I'm here with Yoram Bauman. How are you?
I'm great.
We're in Monaco at the FundForum International 2013. Yoram, you flew all the way over from Seattle to wake us up this morning.
It's true, I did.
That's kind of cool.
And I was up early this morning myself.
And then on top of that, you had to speak to a finance crowd, which is a tall order, isn't it?
It was the hair of the dog comedy hour is what it was called, and they needed a little wake up.
I think you know what you're doing because you're the Stand-Up Economist, the one and only, right?
The only one in the world.
There's only one, it's you.
That's what it says on the internet, so it must be true.
Okay, and nobody's tried to sort of claim your name back. No, I'm the Stand-Up. You were the first one to do this.
That's
pretty interesting. So, what I find interesting is about what you do, and thanks for doing that, because we need that. We need people to say things in more. Well, first of all, call things out. Say things in a more normal language, and tickle the funny bone to sort of register certain messages. So thanks for doing that. How long have you been doing this? What's your experience with this?
I've been doing comedy seriously for 6 or 7 years, and this year for the first time, this is how I make my living now.
Okay.
So I used to do some teaching at the University of Washington, and now I'm just doing comedy.
Yeah, and so but you do this all over the world.
All over the world.
And so, how do people generally react to this? Is there also a cultural element to how you get this message across? I mean, are people nice to you here? Because you just were telling us that in China they look at you like you're America's a loan shark.
Yeah. I had to. Generally crowds are pretty nice.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually did some comedy in China. I did a show in Beijing. I opened up my show in Beijing by saying that I wanted to welcome everybody to the latest meeting of Occupy Beijing.
Okay.
And you could see people in the back. This was at an English language bookstore.
Yeah.
And you could see people in the back who were like, "Wow, is he going to get arrested for that?"
Right.
But there's actually there's a fair amount of free speech in China, especially for Westerners speaking English, is the way that I like to describe it.
Yeah.
So as a comedian, you get to kind of push the envelope a little bit and see what works. And I've done shows in Singapore. I didn't get arrested in Singapore, so I think I'm doing pretty well.
That's a good license to have, actually. It's like a license to laugh, I guess, or whatever we can call this. So, but there's also you're also doing something else. At least from what I gathered, you seem to. What came up in my mind is sort of like Aikido for the environment, because you're like using the force of capitalism to improve the environment. How does that work?
So what I work on in my, when I do serious economics work, I work on environmental economics and climate change and carbon taxes, and especially what I call environmental tax reform. So the idea that we can deal with climate change by lowering taxes on investment and savings and jobs, and make up that revenue by having taxes on things we want less of, like carbon emissions. So I really think about that as a way to use sort of the tools of economics and the power of capitalism to protect the environment. And I think that's an important contribution that I can make as an economist, that folks in the finance world and the business world can make to help us get out of what I think is a pretty tough situation with climate change.
That's very good. You're almost like an environmentalist Jedi who fights capitalism.
Yeah, using capitalism to tackle environmental problems. That's why this is my cape. It's like my costume here, right?
That's your superhero costume.
That's my superhero costume. Yeah, so this is what I do when I go out and fight climate change.
Okay. Yoram Bauman, Baldwin Berges, thanks so much. And thanks, Yoram. This is fun.
My pleasure.